So, hello, my name is William Daniel Galvez. Some of you were with me in the last class. Okay, so nice to see you, nice to be with you, and it's a pleasure. You're a nice group, and let's get it started. Before all, okay, just let me show you what I have in my bag. I have the University of El Salvador. I know that some of you missed that. I know that some of you want to be once again to the university. So let's wait. Let's be patient. We waited like 5 months, and I know that we can wait a little bit more. So let's continue and let's be strong and let's stay at home. So I will have Minerva here at my back because I know that you missed her. And let's get it started. So let me share my screen and let's go here. Okay, second, and let's go. Frequency adverbs. I know, guys, in simple present, I know, guys, that you know about frequency adverbs. I know you know about simple present. I know that you studied that in previous levels of English. So this is going to be a review in which you are going to see the structure, in which you are going to learn new words, in which you are going to be like the specific cases in which we need to use frequency adverbs, in which we don't need to use them, and some exceptions. Okay, so let's get it started. Before all, this image can be like a good summary of this class. At the end, you can go back to this image and to see if you know everything, if you know the verbs, the percentage, structures. Okay, so before everything, just tell you that adverbs give us more information about a verb. We know that they are not adjectives, they are adverbs. But adverbs of frequency or frequency adverbs tell us how often an activity happens. And that is the main job of adverbs of frequency, to tell us how often, how many times, how many times we do something. For example, we have always. Always is that 100% of the time you are always late. And that is my case. When I was taking English, I have to confess that I was always late at my classes. It is a bad habit. Punctuality is very important when learning a new language. So let's be punctual, even if we have virtual classes. So 100% of the time is always. It means that from 10 times, the 10 times happens. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and once again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the time. Okay? You are always late. Then we have usual, which is at 90% of the time. Usual. We usually go to the cinema on Sundays. It means that from 10 Sundays, we went 9 times to the cinema. And one Sunday, we didn't go to the cinema. We went to another place. It means usual. It means almost always. And it is a 90% of the time. Then we have 70%. It is often. He often cooks pasta. Okay, it means that from 10 days, he cooked pasta 7 days. Maybe he is a chef or he likes pasta. I do like pasta. I love spaghetti. I don't know if you like pasta as well. So he often cooks pasta. Then we have sometimes order pizza for dinner. Not all the time. 50-50. From 10 days, we ate pizza 5 days. Because pizza is not that healthy, right? Sometimes 50% of the time. And then we have the negative verbs like hardly ever and rarely. This means 10% of the time. From 10 days, 1 day we did the things. For example, she hardly ever smiles. She hardly ever smiles. It means just 1 time from 10 times. It means that she is always serious, like this, angry. And then we have never. Never means 0%. They are never at home when we call. I called 10 times, and the 10 times they were not at home. They are never at home when we call. Okay, here I have these structures, the word order for adverbs of frequency. We are going to see this deeper in the next slide, but for you to have an idea, in the passive, okay, when we create passive sentences, we use a subject, a frequency adverb, and the verb. For example, he often cooks pasta. He often cooks pasta. Hey, pronunciation. We don't say often. We don't say the T. Okay, the T doesn't exist. We say often. Say it with me. Often. Good. And when we have the verb be, that is gonna be another story. That is gonna be totally different. When we have the verb be, we have the subject, be, and the frequency adverb. What are the forms of be? I am, you are, they are, she is, he is. Okay, you are always late. Okay, if you see, the frequency adverb goes after the verb to be, but it goes before a normal verb. That's the main difference, and that is what you have to keep in mind. Okay, and then we have questions. We have the auxiliary first, then we have the subject, and then we have the frequency adverb. Are you always late? Does he often cook? Okay, so just for you to have an idea of the structures, we are going to see this deeper in the next slide. But before that, we already saw the structures, we know that now. Let's do an exercise. Just let me do something here. Okay, this is my example. Just give me a second. Okay, this is my example. I always go to the university. That's an example because we are home, we cannot go to the university, but I always study in the library. I sometimes study at the language department. I never eat at the university. Examples. I want you to create examples with my back. But before that, rules. Guys, when I say pause the video, you pause the video and you do the exercise. If you do that in this class, you are going to master frequency adverbs because you are going to create different sentences, a lot of different sentences. So, first exercise, create sentences with my back, University of El Salvador. Pause the video and do it. Good. I think that you did it. I like it. Now let's change. Let's change the background. Let's create, let me see, 3 more sentences with this, with a house, with my home. I always rest at my home. I sometimes don't want to be at my house. And I rarely go out of my house. You can create different sentences. 3 sentences with that one, with your house. Okay, now let's move from my house to, let's go to the supermarket. Okay, I always buy fruits when I go to the supermarket. I always buy juice. I never buy beer. It depends on you. I want to create 3 sentences with this background. You can write it or you can say it in your mind because we are going to create more sentences in the next exercise. Okay, so let's change the background once more, one last time, and let's go to the moon. I am the moon. So, I never go to the moon. I always wonder what is living in the moon. I never want to go to the moon. Let's create about the moon, about space, about everything you want to create. Okay, so let's go back to the university because I don't have oxygen here. Okay, I am safe now. So guys, let's continue with the class. Let's continue. So, as I was telling, This is important. We have the different structures. We have different adverbs of frequency. And let's go. Let's continue. We have a wide list of frequency adverbs here. You can use this for increasing your vocabulary. We don't use these words all the time. So you don't necessarily need to know all these words, but if you know them, believe me that you are going to be recognized because you are going to have a very good vocabulary. For example, instead of using always all the time, you can use constantly, continuously, habitually. Instead of using usually, you can use normally, mostly, regularly. Instead of using occasion, okay, in this case, in 40%, we can say occasionally, sporadically, not in sporadically. That's a good way to speak, to have a good vocabulary. So take notes, take your notebook close to you, and let's copy that. This is going to help. Okay, so pause the video, copy it, and then we continue. Okay. So let's go to the next exercise. We have structures. We have the positive structures. We have subject, adverb, and main verb, and the complement, as we studied in the previous slide. I always take the bus into town. Hey, here I need an N. Here I need an N. Just give me a second and I will write it here. I always take the bus into town. Okay. I sometimes go to the gym. Not all the time, sometimes. Okay. I never talk to you. So the frequency adverb goes before the main verb. And what if we have verb be? The frequency adverb goes after the verb be. She is always late. Good. Let's see the other structures. Give me a second. And we have negative. Okay, negative. We have subject, negative auxiliary, the adverb, and the complement. Okay, I'm going to erase this. Okay. So the adverb of frequency goes between the auxiliary and the main verb. We don't usually watch TV after lunch. Okay, this is negative. And we are always going to have the frequency adverb between the negative auxiliary and the main verb. We don't usually watch TV after lunch. Okay, so they can't always wait for you. They usually and they always go in the middle, okay, in the middle of the auxiliary negative and the main verb. What happens when we have a verb be in negative? It goes after the verb be. I am not always disorganized. They are not usually late. So in this case, if you have a verb be in a negative sentence, you have to put the adverb of frequency after the verb be. I am not always. They are not usual. Okay? So pause the video and create one sentence in the negative way. But let's copy this structure. Use your notebooks, guys. Okay, I will give you some time for that. Pause the video. Okay, so let's continue. I know you have your example now. Let's go to questions. We have the auxiliary first, then the subject, then the adverb of frequency, and at last we have the verb. For example, do for I, you, they, and we. We know that. Simple present, and the auxiliary for third person, does, he, she, it. Good. Do you always eat here? Auxiliary, do. Subject, you. Adverb of frequency, always. Verb, eat, and the complement here. Does he usually do that? Does she always go to the restroom? Does she sometimes eat pizza? Good. So these are the structures I am going to give you some time, pause the video, copy the structure, copy the examples, and create 2 more examples of questions. Remember, take it on the auxiliary, okay? Good. So as you know, we have questions, we have negative way, and we have positive way. Have the difference in mind, okay? Positive, negative, and questions. Let's go. We have more rules. When we talk about frequency adverbs, a lot of rules that are going to be sometimes mess that you are not going to remember. Copy, take notes, okay? For example, we know the first. Adverbs of frequency goes before the main verb. I always eat breakfast. We know that. We know that. So the second rule says that adverbs of frequency go after the verb be. We also know that. I am always late for work, and we have this structure here. But what about here? What about this rule? They go between the modal and the main verb. That's a good rule that you need to have in mind. Okay? If we need to use modals, we are going to place the frequency adverb between the modal and the main verb. You should always wear a helmet. Wear a helmet. That was my mistake. You should always wear a helmet. So if you are in a building and people are creating something, you need to wear a helmet because it's dangerous. You should always wear a helmet. So these are some important rules. You just didn't know the last one, so copy that one, and let's continue with the class. Let's continue. Okay, I have an exercise for you. Yes, in a video class we can also practice. So I want you to, well, first let's read this. Negative adverbs. Negative adverbs such as never, seldom, rarely, and hardly ever cannot be used in negative sentences. They cannot be used in negative sentences. So we cannot use a negative auxiliary and never, seldom, rarely, hardly ever, because we are joining two negative ideas. Okay, for example, and the girl is not never on time. The girl is not never on time. We can't say that. We can say the girl is never on time, but we don't say the girl is not never on time. So we have two examples here. Read the first one, read the second one, and choose the one that has a mistake. It may be that the sentences have mistakes, it may be that they don't have mistakes, or it may be that there are more than one mistake. Okay, so, but there is more than one mistake. So, let's see. I will give you 5 seconds to find the mistake. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. And the first sentence was the incorrect. The weather is not never sunny. We don't say that. Two negatives, never. When we have frequency adverbs. The weather is never sunny. That's the way. That's the way in which we have to speak. Now, sometimes another rule. Copy that in your notebook. Copy this rule in your notebook. Sometimes can be at the beginning, at the middle, or at the end. Sometimes I drink coffee. I drink coffee sometimes. I sometimes drink coffee. We can say it in the 3 ways because sometimes is the easiest way, is the easiest frequency adverb. Okay, we can use it either at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end. Okay, so we have these 3 examples here. I need you to find mistakes, find mistakes, find mistakes, and you are going to have 5 seconds. Remember, it may be that we have many mistakes, that we don't have mistakes, or that there is just one mistake. Just take a look take a look at these sentences and try to find. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. And the answer was that there were no mistakes. There were no mistakes. All of them were correct. Why? Because we can use sometimes at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end. Sometimes they eat healthy. They sometimes eat healthy. And they eat healthy sometimes. If you listen, it sounds good. Okay, but imagine if we said, always they eat healthy. They always eat healthy. That is good. They eat healthy always. That doesn't sound good. So we have to take care. Just sometimes is the one that can be placed at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end. Another exercise. You see? Yes, let me move my face. Okay, so always cannot go at the beginning or the end of the sentence, only in the middle. Okay, so this is the contrary to sometimes. We can use always only in the middle. Okay, so we have 3 sentences here. Let's try to find the mistake. And you have 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's find it out. We had 2 mistakes. Always she works hard. Mistake. And she works hard always. She works hard always. As you can see, those are mistakes. We don't use always, neither at the beginning nor at the end. Good. And let's go to another exercise. Negative adverbs. Negative adverbs such as seldom, rarely, and never are not usually used in the negative or question form. We studied that. Okay, so when we have questions or negative statements, we don't use negative adverbs. Negative adverbs. What were negative adverbs? Seldom, rarely, hardly ever, because it means that we almost don't do that. So we don't use that in questions or in negative statements. We have different sentences here, and let's try to find mistakes. We don't use negative adverbs in questions or negative statements. So let's try to solve it. You have, in this case, you have 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time is over. Time is over. And the wrong answers were, I don't seldom get to school on time. Because it is a negative. Okay, we don't use negative frequency adverbs with negative statements. And the other mistake was, do you rarely eat sushi? Do you rarely eat sushi? No, we don't ask with negative adverbs. Do you usually eat sushi? That is good. It is like Spanish. I will speak Spanish just once. Casi nunca comes sushi. You don't ask that in Spanish. Comer sushi frecuentemente. That is the same in English. Okay. So, do you rarely eat sushi? Do you usually eat sushi? Do you eat sushi? How often do you eat sushi? Those are the ways to ask. We don't say, do you rarely eat sushi? Big mistake. Big no-no. So guys, that was all about theory. That was all about practice together. Now let's go to a practice. Let's go to the web. Give me a second and let's try to work together. Give me a second with this. And okay, so let's go to the net. I have this link here, okay, which is this. And let's try to do the exercise together. Let's try to do it together. You know what you have to do. You have to pause the video and try to solve it by yourself. Let's go with the first exercise. Let's go with the first one. Our teacher, Mr. Jones, we have never and be late for lessons. Just give me a second. I will try to share this once more. Okay, I guess that you can see it now. Our teacher, Mr. Jones, we have never and be late for lessons. So we have simple present and we have in third person plural. Okay, so our teacher, third person singular, excuse me. Our teacher, Mr. Jones, never be. Try to solve that in your notebook. You have some time. Pause the video and solve it. Okay, now you played the video. Let's see the answer. Our teacher, Mr. Jones, never and be. After verb be, we have the frequency adverb. So it's never late for lessons. And let's check because I could make mistakes. Don't know. Let's see. And we have a good answer. Okay, so if you have this never, good job. Second exercise. And we have the options. Often without the T, I often, and clean. Okay, we have a main verb here. We don't have the verb be. Try to solve that in your notebook. Pause the video and let's solve it. Now that you did it, I often clean my bedroom at the weekend. Often clean. The frequency adverb goes before main verbs. Let's check it. Okay, and it was a good answer. Good. My brother. Okay, here we have a negative frequency adverb. Hardly ever. Almost never. And the verb help. Okay, we have a third person singular here. Let's try to solve that. You have your time. Okay? Now that you did it, let's find the answer together. My brother, we have a main verb here. We don't have the verb be. My brother hardly ever helps me with my family. We have the S at the end of the P. We know why. I know you know why. So let's check the answer. And it is a good answer as well. Number 4, sometimes in B. Take care, we have a B. So you know the rule. Try to solve it in your notebook. Okay? Now that you did it, now that you closed the video, that you played that again, let's do it. I am sometimes. Okay, because the frequency adverb goes after verb be. Okay, let's use contractions here because the page uses contractions, and let's see. And okay, it says that it is wrong. Why? Let me see. Just give me a second. It says that it is wrong. Okay, I sometimes. Let me see if I have a spelling mistake. I am sometimes. Okay, let me check. I have a good answer. I have a good answer here. It says good. Okay, it was my mistake. It was a good answer. I am sometimes bored in the math lesson. Number 5, we. Okay, we have another negative adverb. We rarely and watched. Let's try to solve that. Pause the video and play it once again. Now that you solved the exercise, we rarely watch. Okay, simple past of watch, watched. Third person singular, he watches, she watches. Okay, let's practice pronunciation in that way. We rarely watch. We don't add the s because we have plural. We rarely watched. We watched football on TV. Let's see. And it says good. Now, number 6, we are about to finish. Number 6, you and Tony never and play. We have plural and we have main verb. You and Tony try to solve that and let's check it. You and Tony never play computer games with me. Let me see. And it is okay as well. You, we have usually, and usually can be at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. In this case, we are going to use it at in the middle. Okay, so you, we have the verb be. Okay, and use it. Let's do it. Pause the video, play it once again. Now that you did it, you, okay, what form do we use for be? When we use you? You are. Okay, you are with constructions is you are. You're usually at the sports center on Sunday. Let me see. And it says okay. So we are just missing the last sentence. The school bus always arrive. Okay, remember, third person singular. Let's try to solve that. Pause the video, play it again. Good. The school bus always arrives with the yes, with a beautiful S at the end, because we are in third person singular. The school bus always arrives at 8:30. Okay, let's see. And it is good. 8 from 8. You can use this link. I will share it with you and you can practice once more. But I have another link for you that I'm going to upload as well, where you can practice. You can practice your knowledge about passive. In the last exercise, we practiced passive, but you can practice negative and questions in this exercise, in this page. First, you are going to have to order the frequency adverbs. Never, usually, often, from 0% to 100%. Try to do it. You are going to memorize that by doing this exercise. Second exercise, rewrite the sentences placing the adverb in its correct position. Okay, Mary goes shopping to the mall. Okay, let's try to solve the first exercise. Mary goes, okay, usually goes shopping to the mall. Just that. Mary usually goes shopping to the mall. You have to change the sentence because you need to add the frequency adverb. Exercise number 3. Correct the sentences. You have mistakes here. You have mistakes. And you have to put into practice your critical thinking. Let's spot some mistakes. Let me see. Letter B. David sometimes is a bit sad. Verb B after frequency adverb. No. David is sometimes a bit sad. David is sometimes a bit sad. Good. We don't add the period because if you can see we have a period here. Okay. So that's number 3. Number 4, we need to order the sentences. We have patterns, and I know you love patterns because they appear in exams. So let's take a look at this. Mary is always punctual to school. Okay, Mary is always punctual to school. Once you finish this, you can click on done and you're going to have your score. Okay, if you see I made 2 mistakes, well, I have 1 point because out of a lot of exercise, they sum up 1 point. I guess they are 30 exercises. I have 1 point because I just did 3 exercises. They're okay, they are in green. So guys, you can practice this. This is not a homework. I'm not going to check that. This is up to you. If you want to practice, if you want to put into practice what you know about the structures, about negative, about questions, let's do it because we need to reinforce what we know. So that was nice to be teaching today through video, I know, but it was nice. I hope to see you again. I will be teaching to you the coming weeks. So bye-bye. Say bye to Minerva. Bye-bye, Minerva. Okay. Thank you so much.